Welcome to Commuteless, a show about working from home with less stress and more freedom so you can live life on your terms. My name is Kyle Adams, and I'm here today with my co-host, Corey Miller.
Hello.
Welcome to the show, Corey. It's good to have you here.
Welcome to the show yourself, Kyle. This is very exciting.
So there's going to be a mixed audience, Corey, so I just want to get this out at the beginning. We used to have a show together, so this is not our first podcast.
Not our first rodeo, as you might say.
Not our first. I wasn't going to use the Texas reference.
Well, you
but
should.
Okay. So we're excited to be starting another podcast together, and I've missed it, Corey. I've missed it a lot.
Same. I'm thrilled. I'm absolutely thrilled. This show, this topic, this idea, the whole thing that we're going to be diving into on this particular podcast is something that you and I are both very passionate about, very excited about, and have a lot of experience with. And I think that we'll be able to provide some good value for people and help those who are starting this new journey, working from home or working remotely, either starting their journey or maybe they've been doing it for a while, and just need better tools to do it better. And I'm excited about diving back into that.
Yeah, and just a note up front, even if you're not someone who works remote all the time, maybe right now you're working from home, just for some context, this first episode is recorded during the time that most people are working from home because of COVID-19. But if you're not someone who normally works from home, there's also some great tips here for just in general for productivity and keeping life working. So don't tune out if you don't work from home, but if you do work from home, this is the place to be. So to kind of kick things off, Corey, I want to give some context about who we are for anyone new that's listening, and really why we've started this podcast and what we're interested in. So I'm curious to hear a little bit more about you. How long have you been working from home, and what do you do from home?
Sure. Yeah. So I am a front-end web developer at a company called ConvertKit. It is a email marketing and audience building software. So you can, build an email list. You can create landing pages. There's lots of other various things you can do with it. So I've been working for ConvertKit for just over a year now. But before that, I was working for another company, fully remote. All of us were kind of scattered around the world, and I've been working remote / from home since I think 2015, the beginning of 2015. So just over 5 years, I've been doing that in some capacity. And before that, I had various, stints, I would say, from working from home and doing some freelance work as a web developer and some different things like that. But full time starting in 2015, and so I have a lot of experience with, both being in a house, in a room, in a tiny little apartment, larger house, having kids. I've got 2 kids that are here at home, and so my wife also works from home, and so we have this interesting dynamic that is going to be kind of brought to the table where we've both been working from home for 4 to 5 years, and we both trying to juggle this whole aspect of life where there's work, there's life, there's kids, there's school, there's everything else, relationship, friendships, community, yada yada yada. So that's kind of my background with working from home. So just over 5 years, various capacities, and I love it. It's my favorite way to work. And I'm an extrovert. I don't know if you can hear that in the audio, but I'm definitely an extrovert. But it is absolutely my favorite way to work. What about you, Kyle? What's your story, history, life with working from home?
Yeah, that's interesting thing you mentioned is that you've worked from home a lot of different places, like globally even. You haven't always been in the US. And so you've got a lot of experience with that location-based, like how do locations affect all of this? Me personally, I have been working from home for about 6 years now. I think I started in 2014, like early 2014, if I remember right. And I've worked various places. I was working for myself for a while, building my own business, and then um, working for another company. And now it's weird, Corey. Technically, I'm still working for my own business, but most of my time is spent with the same company you are working with, um, ConvertKit. At ConvertKit, I'm helping with onboarding and just general uh, support stuff. And so, um, yeah, it's been great. It's been really fun, and just contract there and helping out. And I feel like I should record this whole part over again.
No, it's good. It's good. There's nothing wrong with it.
Oh, I've stumbled over myself like 5 times, Corey.
I don't
This
care.
is
I did too.
this is the thing with starting a podcast again. It's like we have experience. I think we got to what, 129 episodes or something like
I
that.
think that's right. Yeah.
And I remember that because we didn't get to exactly 130. So
You're right. So
so
close.
but even with that, it's been like a year. So we're still getting warmed up here. But
Yeah.
anyway, back into a little background with me. When I first started working remotely, we were in a 1-bedroom apartment, and I remember my desk was in our dining room, and I was doing all my work there. Since then, we kind of just gradually progressed into a 2-bedroom, and then now we're in an actual house, and now we have an 18-month-old, and life is completely different. But all of those changes have definitely contributed to knowing a little bit more about this topic. And I've just been hearing a lot from people who are working from home now, especially with all of the COVID-19 crisis, just people, kind of being forced to work from home
Right.
and forced to figure these things out. And I would say even a little bit more thrown into the fire, so to speak, because there isn't anything like childcare. Both parents are working from home.
Mm.
If you're a parent, you're both working from home. Even if you're a couple just married, you're both at home, and so there's a lot of things going on right now. And I think that's the main reason we wanted to start this podcast, is just to talk to those people, and hopefully help you with working from home, help you feel more stable with working from
Yeah.
home. I guess
Yeah.
that's a good way to put it.
Yeah. I've gotten a handful of messages from friends who are like, how do you do this? And a buddy of mine who lives in Dublin, Ireland, he texted me kind of early on a couple weeks ago, and he said, we went from a 10% remote team. So they're, 90% of their entire company, which is a large company, 90% was in an office or, scattered around in office buildings. And now they're 100% remote working. So everyone's working from home. And, and that a lot of that happened very, very quickly. I have another friend who works in theater production, and she's like, there's like, what do you do? Like when you in that industry, how in the world do you work from home? So there's all these other things that, have to happen, but not a lot of people have that experience. It is a total other world when you're working in one place, you have these serendipitous moments with your coworkers, you're walking around, there's movement, there's all of these things that change when you start working from your house or from your apartment. And it just is crazy. So, I've been getting a lot of these messages from people saying, I need tips, I need help, I need any kind of input that you might have. In fact, this friend I was just talking about in Ireland, he's like, would you be willing to just hop on a real chill call with me and my small team? There's just like, half a dozen of us, and just kind of help, like help us think about this a little differently. Help us get, in any tips that you might have would be a night and day difference for us. And so I feel like that's something that this show can provide is, pulling all of that together in a singular place, where, we can talk about that stuff and we can offer suggestions and our insights on those things. And I mean, we haven't really talked about this. We're still kind of like figuring this out as we record, but I'd love to even have other people on the show that we can talk to who run companies or have been doing remote stuff or work for themselves and have been doing this work from home stuff, this work from home thing, and see what their insights are. There are a lot of companies that are growing right now, and there I let, let me rephrase that. There are a lot of companies that are going more remote because it's just so much easier than it used to be, and it's just not there's not as many barriers to starting working from home, but doing it well, I think, is another conversation for sure. And I think that's what we want to provide with the show.
Yeah, for sure. And just a disclaimer for everyone, we're not perfect at this. We're not
Well, maybe you're not, Kyle.
we're not pros, Corey. We're not pro. The thing is, I think with remote work and really anything, like working well, being productive, all those things, a lot of it comes down to experience.
Yeah.
And that's what we're hoping to provide through this show, is just sharing our experience, sharing what's worked well for us over the past 5 or 6 years. If you're just getting started working remotely, or like I said, during this time, you've just kind of been thrust into it. I think after all of the COVID-19 thing has kind of died down a little bit, I still think a lot of companies are going to be working remotely, or at least have those options to work remotely, because infrastructure's been put in place, things are there, and it makes sense to allow people to work from home if you've got those processes in place. So I think there's going to be a lot more people either with that option or put into that position. And so our goal is really just to share, here's what we've learned over these half a decade or so amount of time. And even the things that don't work, we're going to talk about those as well. Not just here's what works, thanks. I really want to talk about, like, what have we tried that didn't work? Because I think a lot of times when we hear advice about what works or doesn't work in certain situations, we hear just the best version of what works.
Right.
And it's easy to slip into saying, well, that worked for them, but I could do this other thing. And I really want to talk about the times that we've tried doing that other thing and it hasn't worked. Because I know there's plenty of times I've done that.
Right.
There's plenty of times I've thought, it doesn't matter if I wake up and get a shower, I work from home. Who cares? And
wait, you're supposed to wake up and take a shower?
Well,
oh no, Kyle. Oh no.
If you don't, Corey, just being really transparent here, there's been days I end up not taking a shower till like after dinner because I just didn't have time.
Right.
So if I don't make that time, what happens?
Right.
So stuff like that. That's kind of what we want to talk about. What I'm hoping listeners can get from this podcast is just a feeling of less stress, of less confusion, I guess, because I know I've thought a lot recently, especially as we're working on this show and figuring out what we wanted to do. I've thought a lot about when I first started working remotely, and I remember that feeling of just I don't want to make it a negative thing. It was just kind of like emptiness, and not in an emotionally empty way, just to like, there is nothing, there's like no coworkers here.
Right.
There's no boss like coming in my office and telling me what to do. So what do I do? I remember those first few days, I just kind of sat there like, what am I doing?
Yeah, right. I had similar experiences. It was the first couple of days and I was sitting there, I was like, I could literally just sit here and play video games all day long and nobody would know. Oh no, I have to build discipline now. But yeah, having those moments early on, I think are very common across the board for people working from home. And and they could appear in different forms, but yeah, I think, another thing I think that this show can help with is just reminding listeners that they're not alone. Like there's millions of other people who are going through exactly what you're going through, or have done what you're just starting or have been doing for a while. you're not alone. There are other people who have these same experiences, and we want to bring that to light. We want to help you out.
Yeah. And I'm hoping you and I can both grow through this as well, because there's still things that I'm working on, like probably the worst one for me to still be working on, but just staying healthy and exercising and those kind of
Mm,
things. It's super easy when you work from home to get complacent and sit on the couch. And when you have free time, just play Animal Crossing or something like that.
right.
And you just get lost in it and you spend hours and then you think, oh, I should go outside and walk, but I have these other things to do.
Right.
And so, even working through some of that stuff, like you said, hopefully at some point we can have some other people on here who are much stronger in certain areas than we are, and learn
Mm.
from them as well as the listeners do too. So I'm excited about the show. This first episode really is just all about introducing what are you listening to and what is this podcast going to be about, and how bad are we at making podcasts right now, because we haven't practiced in a while. And it's just kind of us warming up / letting you know what you can expect.
Yeah.
Any other thoughts from you, Corey? Anything else we need to share?
I don't think I have. Yeah, I don't think I have anything else. I think people are going to be. I mean, I know I'm stoked to get into the topics that we're going to be talking about, and so, let's just let's wrap this one up and dive into the things.
Okay, so speaking of that, there's a few important things we need to share before the end of the show.
Okay.
Number one, we really want to hear from you as the listener. What is it that you want to hear from this show? What are you struggling with when it comes to working remotely? As you're listening to this show, we're launching 3 episodes right up front. So there's more to listen to. And some of that might touch on topics that you've had questions about. But either way, just write into us. Even if you are just curious about how we do something, write into us, ask us questions. We're happy to hear from you. We genuinely want to make this show something that you can tune into and feel like you're getting something out of. And it's hard to do that when nobody lets us know what they're wanting to get out of it. It's just us talking about how much we've worked remotely.
Right.
And so we really want to help you with your questions, with your struggles and those kind of things. So yeah, just let us know. Go to commuteless.fm/contact. And from there you can contact us and just send us a message. Also, Corey, where can people go in general to find the show?
Well, you can find the show at commuteless.fm. We have our own website. It's so fancy. Well, I don't know about fancy, but we have our own website. You can find all of the episodes and any show notes that we have. So if we ever mention any resources or tools or, basic outline type stuff, we'll be dropping those in, and that'll be available at commuteless.fm. For me, you can find me on Twitter at Corey DH Miller. And you can also tweet us those questions, so you can go to commuteless.fm/contact. You can write in, but you can also tweet at us if you want to. So my Twitter handle, Corey CORY DH Miller. And then I also have a development blog over at corydhmiller.com, where I just write, little tips, things on front-end development, some thoughts on that whole world. So that's me. What about you, Kyle? Where can people go to find you?
You can find me on Twitter at It's Kyle Adams. And no, I'm not saying that it's Kyle Adams. It's literally at ITS Kyle Adams. You can find me.
It's Kyle Adams. It's Kyle Adams.
Right. That gets confusing. It's great on Twitter, but it's terrible to say.
Yes. Got you.
So you can find me there. You can also find me at kyleadams.me. Doing a lot of photography work and stuff there. So if that's something you're interested in, I'm even doing remote work as a photographer. So if you're curious about that, head on over to kyleadams.me and check it out.
Sweet.
Thanks so much for listening, and we'll see you in the next one.